In this video, I'm going to talk to you about release work, specifically releasing approval. So, I have been with my teacher for 10 years, and she has taught me how to do release work. Her teacher was Lester Levinson and Robert Adams. But mainly, she was with Lester, I think, longer than Robert Adams, and he taught her how to release. She also teaches it to a group of us and from people all over the world. And I share it in my release work as far as doing energy healing. When I do the energy healing in private sessions, I it's all about releasing. Okay, so she does it slightly different, but I want to share with you my experience of release work and how it has affected my life, especially wanting approval. So whenever I work with my private clients as well as doing it on my own, I always write an intention. So, whatever you want to call into your life, manifest into your life, what is it that I don't like to say manifest, but it's a word that I'm going to use um, because it sounds like work. So, what is it that you are calling into your life? If you want a partner, if you want more money, if you want better health, if you want that house, that career, whatever it is. So, I always write the intention. I allow myself to have the perfect partner, or I allow myself to have, and you get specific of how much money you want, per month. And it invites you to release all of the doubts because doubts are more or less fears. So there's a lot of conscious and subconscious thoughts that are holding us uh, in these patterns of our lives and the experiences of our lives because everything that we think we are experiencing, everything we're projecting is of our creation. And it is a bitter pill to swallow, but if you get it, you won't, if you see it, you won't unsee it. You will be clear that this is your, whatever you're holding in mind is exactly what you're experiencing in life. So, that being said, we're talking about approval. So whenever I have a client say, I allow myself to have whatever it is, I always have them put three words on the side of the piece of paper: control, approval, security. So whenever you write your intention, and then let's say there's a doubt that comes up, like, oh, I never, I can't make any more money than what my job allows me to. Because what you're doing is you're writing down, that's a limiting belief. You're writing down all your beliefs, you're writing down all your doubts, you're writing everything that is contradicting what you want. And especially when you're calling in money, um, you're opening yourself up to the abundance that you already are because your consciousness within you is already abundant. And so you're opening yourself up to what already is. And same with approval. Approval is wanting love, or being disapproving of yourself, disapproving of others. And then security. Well, we always are looking for security, especially in this world, because it doesn't ever seem like it looks secure. But it's always been like this, and that's what my teacher said. It's always been like this. It's just we're more informed now, and it seems like, oh my God, the world's going to end. But the thing is that if you think that, then that's going to be your experience. I mean, if you think that the world is terrible right now, then that's going to be your experience. And for me, I know during the pandemic, I was in California on lockdown, and I was walking around in my beautiful neighborhood, and I was like, I really don't want to, uh, if this is going to be my last few days or months or years, I want to be happy. I don't want to be miserable, and I don't want to be part of something that of course it was a real pandemic, but um, all the other stuff that was going on, I was like, I don't want that. I want to live my days happily. So whatever you think is going to be your experience, even if the world is going cuckoo, you can still have a good experience. believe it or not, because whatever you are thinking is what you are creating. So going back to approval is something that my teacher said recently, and we all in the group gasped when she said this. And I may have mentioned this in one of the other videos, where she said, if you're wanting approval from someone, it's because you're disapproving of them. And I'm like, what? And when for me, when I really looked at it, I was like, you know what? She's right. And it really opened me up to seeing this, that that's the hardest thing to release, is wanting approval. First, it's control, wanting control. We always want control. Our little body mind always wants control. Well, not the body, but the mind, the little self, and then we want approval. But in a way, we're built that way because we are built to be in community and with others. So of course, we want approval, but we take it to the extremes sometimes. And to be free from approval, and I've been around people, I've been around saints that are free from approval, and it's amazing because there's so much freedom to not be seeking approval from anyone. And we do that a lot in relationships, I mean, all the time. And we do things that where we really put ourselves in compromising positions because we want a relationship to work. And then later we go, oh my God, what was I doing? Because we were desperately wanting approval. We were begging for love. But once you start to release, you start to see that you are the love that you are seeking. And then it opens you up more to be more present for yourself, for others, for everybody. And then you can have this amazing intimacy with everyone. And it just, I know from my experience, it totally changed me. Um so letting go of approval is is harder than the other two, wanting security. And our true nature is control, is total control, total approval, and total security. And the more you tune into that, like people always say, well, how do I love myself? My definition of my experience of loving myself is loving my highest self, like being in tune with that divine energy, because that's what I do with my energy healing work. Is it's consciousness, and when I'm working with someone, I am tuning into their consciousness, and they are um, sharing, their information with me. Basically, when I'm tuning into them, I get the information, what's going on in their body, what's going on in their mind, in their subconscious, and we can really clear out what is in the way for them to have a freer, happier life, you know. And one case in particular, a friend of mine who um, I hadn't seen in a while, was sharing. We got together and we were updating each other on what was going on in our lives. And she was telling me, and I was just automatically, because she allowed me to, I could see what was happening in her body. And I said, let's set up a session. Um, and and I was helping her to release without even being in a session, and she asked for it. And so it was really cool she was so receptive to see, oh yeah, I've been thinking this and experiencing this. And I'm like, okay, release that thought, so that, and see what happens. It's an experiment, because whenever you're releasing it, just look at it as an experiment. It's pretty cool, it's magical. So um because we are not victims of our lives. We are in the power seat. We are in control at every moment if we are in the highest self. And if we are in the lower self, we're trying to control, we'll drive ourselves crazy. So and this goes for self-help groups. It's always the higher self. Um, and it's not a controlling or manipulating way tactic. It's releasing. And the more I've been releasing for 10 years, but I would say more so in the last few years, but it gets subtler. And when you can really let go of tendencies, you're not only helping yourself, but you are helping your ancestors. Because I just released a tendency recently that I couldn't believe. I was like, whoa. And that was passed on my mom's side. And I was just like, wow, that's huge. And I mean, and when I was able to really let it go, I could feel the energy shifting in my heart and laughing at once you release a tendency, there's thousands of thoughts that come with it. And I was just laughing at like, oh my God, I wanted to do that. I was gonna do that. I was, because these thoughts were part of the whole package, of that tendency. And so that's just frees you up. It just frees you up into freedom, which is amazing. And then you're calmer, you're happier, you're more relaxed. And so this is very powerful work, and it's becoming more popular. It wasn't for a while, but it seems like more and more people are really open to it, open to finding out who they really are. And it's so simple. It's so simple, but it's not always easy. But it's simple. So in conclusion, going back to wanting approval, um, sometimes it's the most difficult when it's regarding relationships. With being involved with somebody, and maybe you're with someone that maybe isn't reciprocating as much, or and somehow you find yourself in these positions of begging for love in more ways than one, and then you become, I'm not saying this is in every case, but sometimes we pick someone who's emotionally unavailable. I did that. And it's like you're bending over backwards trying to make it work. Um, and going about it, in my case, the wrong way, and then compromising my values, compromising my integrity, compromising a lot. And then you're left with nothing because the person doesn't isn't on the same page. But it's wanting approval. And so once it's like you can always use that. If you've been through something like that, you can always use that as, even if you're not with that person, as a way, use that experience as a way to release, to let go of wanting that, so that you don't choose that again and you don't repeat it. So a lot of times we have these tendencies where we're repeating the same thing. We keep choosing the same kind of relationships and ending up in the same positions. And so that's why wanting approval or letting go of that is so important. So that's the video for today. And I just want to share that uh, anything that you want to call into your life to manifest, release on it. That is the best way I have ever been able to change my life in the way that I want to. And I'm always a work in progress, always doing it. I live, eat, breathe this. So if you want to book a session, everything is in the description and the notes in this video. And I hope you all are having a wonderful Memorial weekend if you are in the States.